Another one. Everyone knows that lotus flowers grow in the water, but water never grows from a lotus. All such contradictions, however, are wonderfully possible in Krishna. The great river Ganges has grown from his lotus feet. The real glory of Mother Ganges is that she has grown from the lotus feet of the Lord. Such a hypothesis is another ornament called Anumana. I have simply discussed the 5 gross faults and the 5 literary embellishments of this verse. But if we consider them in fine detail, we will find unlimited faults. You have achieved poetic imagination and ingenuity by the grace of your worshipful demigod, but poetry not well reviewed is certainly subject to criticism. Poetic skill used with due consideration is very pure, and with metaphors and analogies it is dazzling. After hearing the explanation of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, the champion poet was struck with wonder, his cleverness stunned. He could not say anything. He wanted to say something, but no reply could come from his mouth. He then began to consider this puzzle within his mind. Now, he's such a person that previously no one could understand what he's saying, and everyone was totally bewildered by how much knowledge and how much everything he had. They couldn't even answer his questions when they started debate. This mere boy has blocked my intelligence. I can therefore understand that Mother Saraswati is angry with me. Report. In the Bhagavad Gita is clearly said that all intelligence comes from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in everyone's heart as a Paramatma. The Paramatma gave the Pandit the intelligence to understand that because he was proud of his learning, he wanted to defeat even the Supreme Lord. By the will of the Lord and through the agency of Mother Saraswati, he had been defeated. One should not, therefore, be too proud of one's position. Even if one is a greatly learned scholar, if he commits an offense to the lotus feet of the Lord, he will not be able to speak properly. In spite of his learning, in every respect, we are controlled. Period. In every respect, we are controlled. Our only duty, therefore, is to surrender always to the lotus feet of the Lord and not be our only duty is to surrender the lotus feet of the Lord and not be falsely proud. Mother Saraswati created this situation to favor the champion Pandit so he might surrender unto Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. The wonderful explanation the boy has given could not have been possible for a human being. Therefore, Mother Saraswati must have spoken personally through his mouth. Thinking thus, the Pandit said, "My dear Nimai Pandit, please hear me. Hearing your explanation, I am simply struck with wonder. I am surprised you are not a literary student and do not have long experience in studying the Shastras, but you have been able to explain all these critical points." Hearing this and understanding the Pandit's heart, Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu replied in a humorous way, "My dear sir, I do not know what is good composition and what is bad, but whatever I have spoken must be understood to have been spoken by Mother Saraswati." When he heard this judgment from Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, the Pandit sorrowfully wondered why Mother Saraswati wanted to defeat him through a small boy. "I shall offer prayers and meditation to the goddess of learning," the champion concluded, "and ask her why she has insulted me so greatly through this boy." Saraswati had in fact induced the champion to compose his verse in an impure way. Furthermore, when it was discussed, she covered his intelligence, and thus the Lord's intelligence was triumphant. When the poetic champion was thus defeated, all the Lord's disciples sitting there began to laugh loudly. but Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him not to do so, and he addressed the poet as follows. Laughing, like when Duryodhana fell in the water and walked into the wall at the Pandava's place, all the ladies started giggling and laughing, and Yudhisthira was telling him to stop. But Krishna said, no, keep laughing. He wanted it. And that incident is something that really set off his terrible anger and envy. It never subsided. You are the most learned scholar and the topmost of all poets, but otherwise how could such fine poetry come from your mouth? Your poetic skill is like the constant flow of the waters of the Ganges. I find no one in the world who can compete with you. Even in the poetic compositions of such great poets as Baba Bhuti, Jayadev, and Kalidas, there are many examples of faults. Such a mistake should be considered negligible. One should see only how much poets have displayed their poetic power. In the Srimad Bhagavatam it is said, Tadvag visarga janataga viplo yasmin pratishlokam adabat abadavavat yapi namani nanantas yashonikani yat shrinvanti gayanti grinanti sadhava. In explaining the glories of the Lord, experienced men may compose poetry with many faults, but because it contains glorification of the Lord, great personalities read it, hear it, and chant it. Despite its minute literary discrepancies, one must study poetry on the merit of the subject matter. According to Vaishnava philosophy, any literature that glorifies the Lord, whether properly written or not, is first class. There is no need to other considerations. The poetic compositions of Baba Bhuti or Shrikanta include Malati Madhava, Uttara Charita, Vira Charita, and many similar Sanskrit dramas. This great poet was born during the time of Bhojaraj as the son of Nilakanta, a Brahmana. Kalidas flourished during the time of Maharaj Vikramaditya, and he became the state poet. He composed some 30 or 40 Sanskrit dramas, including Kumara Sambhava, Abhigyana Shakuntala, and Meghaduta. His drama Raghuvamsa is especially famous. We have already described Jayadev in chapter 13 of the Adi Lila. I'm not even fit to be your disciple. Therefore, kindly do not take seriously whatever childish impudence I have shown. Please go back home, and tomorrow we may meet again so that I may hear discourses on the Shastras from your mouth. In this way, both the poet and Caitanya Mahaprabhu went back to their homes, and at night the poet worshipped Mother Saraswati. In a dream, the goddess informed him of the Lord's position, and the poetic champion could understand that Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. The next morning, the poet came to Lord Chaitanya and surrendered unto his lotus feet. The Lord bestowed his mercy upon him and cut off all his bondage to material attachment. Purport. The same process advocated by Lord Sri Krishna in his teachings of Bhagavad Gita as it is, surrender unto me in all instances, was advocated by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The champion surrendered unto the Lord, and the Lord favored him. One who is favored by the Lord is freed from material bondage, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, Taktva deham punarjanma ma naiti mam eti, so Arjuna. The poetic champion was certainly most fortunate. His life was successful by dint of his vast learning and erudite scholarship, and thus he attained the shelter of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Narottam Das Thakur has sung that the best qualification for taking shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya is to be the most fallen, because the Lord came specifically to deliver the fallen souls. In this age there are very few scholars. Almost everyone is a fallen meat-eater, drunkard, woman hunter, or gambler. Such persons are never considered learned scholars, even if they pose as such, because these so-called scholars superficially see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu associates with the fallen souls, they think he is meant for a lower class of men, but they do not need him. Thus such scholars do not take to the Krishna conscious movement. To be puffed up with false learning, therefore, is a disqualification for accepting the Krishna consciousness movement. But here is a special example. For although the poetic champion was greatly learned scholar, the Lord also favored him because of his humble submission. Okay, I have to move on again. Time for medicine.